He anagrams faster than a speeding bullet. As powerful as the rack, nastier. Able to use the Q without the U. Look, there by the Scrabble board. It's a savant. It's a maven. It's Letterman. Yes, it's Letterman, strange competitor from another dimension who lives in Orange County, California, with powers and abilities developed beyond those of most men and women. Letterman, who can find a legal word on most every rack, find playable bingos during most every game, and who, disguised as Gary Moss, mild-mannered director of Club 350, propagates the entries of the Owl 2 in the interests of word competition, community, and the American way.
Oh, hi. Letterman here. Welcome back. Glad you came back for another tip about Scrabble. This is our 10th meeting. Do you believe that? Well, today we're going to talk about time, because in some ways Scrabble is all about time. Do you remember when you first learned to play Scrabble with the family, and maybe you were playing on a Sunday morning, and someone got the board out, set it up, and there really wasn't any time factor in the game. Someone took their turn, then the next person took their turn, and a game could drag on for the better part of a day. Well, those of us that love to play the game and like to take our turns, we became bored with that pretty quickly. Playing one game over the course of the majority of one day wasn't satisfying enough. And so those people who wanted to play faster developed different time techniques. The very first time technique was to bring out a little sand timer. The one that Grandma used to use as a timer for boiling eggs in the kitchen. Those timers were used in clubs, and they were even used in tournaments in the 1990s. But then people were dissatisfied because it was a 2-minute timer, and that meant that each person had to take 2 minutes, and the players actually had to juggle 3 timers in order to keep the game moving. We had one timer that was timing this turn, while these other 2 timers were emptying, so they could be set for the next turn and the next turn after that. The Scrabble player went out and said, why not use a chess clock? Well, they went out and they got these analog clocks. You have 2 faces. The way you use a chess clock is that you press one button and it starts the other face. When this person finished their turn, they pushed the button and it started this face. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but at the top of the hour, there's a little red flag. And what would happen is, when the 25 minutes elapsed for that person's part of the game, that little red flag went up and then it dropped. And that meant that you had used up all of your regular time and put you into penalty time. The rule in Scrabble is that if you go into penalty time, the very first second costs you 10 points. And then every minute thereafter costs you another 10 points. So at 1 minute, 1 second, it's 20 points. 2 minutes, 1 second, it's 30 points. Well, that satisfied a lot of folks. But then, you know, things never stay the same. So there were those purists who tried to read the clock when the hand was past the flag, but very, very close to 1 minute. It would determine whether the person lost 10 points or 20 points. So this clock became very inaccurate at that point, and they needed a better tool. That's when they moved from analog clocks to digital clocks, because the digital clock counts second by second by second. You can easily look and determine whether you're 59 seconds over time, 1 minute over time, or 1 minute, 1 second over time. And that difference of the 10 points from minute to minute might very easily determine who wins the game in the end. As critical as time is during the game, you get no extra benefit if there's time remaining on your clock when the game ends. So you don't have to hurry and rush during the game. Take your time, but be aware of where the clock is. In an average game, a player takes approximately 17 turns. If you divide that out by the 25 minutes permitted for the entire game, that's about 1.5 minutes per play. The trick is to become accustomed and understand how time flows while you're in the game. Don't become too distracted and daydream during the game when it is your play. Keep your game moving, but at the same time, if you have a really great rack, you might want to take more than the 1.5 minutes. You might want to take 2 or 3 minutes to try to find a potential bingo on your rack. But other times, just keep the game moving along. Now here's a very important tip about time. When it comes to the end of the game, and you're very close to running out of time, and you've either won the game for certain or lost the game for certain, just play quickly. I've seen some people study a rack of unplayable letters and end up getting 2 points while they've wasted away 1.5 minutes. It's not worth anything to gain 2 points to lose 20 points. So if you've definitely won the game, just play those tiles off at the end and don't put yourself in jeopardy due to time loss. If you definitely lost the game, it doesn't matter anyways. Take a quick 2 points or 4 points or 6 points and let your opponent go out and end the game off. One point that I make with all of my students is to try to think quickly. Now, how do you think quickly? Well, you practice at it. You have a rack and you quickly try to find some words on the rack. But the other part of thinking quickly is coming prepared. How do you come prepared? You study certain things before you actually show up to play. Now, I'm not saying don't come until you're fully prepared, because none of us are fully prepared ever. But you have to make some effort ahead of time in order to come and then be successful, especially if you choose to win the game. I'm going to share with you now one tool that we've talked about before, WHIZ cards, and show you how you can use WHIZ cards to help you think quickly at the Scrabble table.
I'm a teacher by profession. I've always known the value of using flashcards as a study tool. I remember when I used them myself as a student going through school. So when I became a competitive Scrabble player, the first thing I did was develop a study system for myself, and that became WHIZ cards. WHIZ cards are flashcards, but each set of WHIZ cards is developed around a specific set of words that have a high probability of showing up on your rack. WHIZ cards are developed primarily for stems, high point tiles, and special categories. If you use WHIZ cards as your method of study, I can almost guarantee you that you'll find success in building your vocabulary, and especially with the high probability words that will show up on your rack and allow you to make bingo after bingo.
Thanks for being with me on my 10th anniversary, the 10th episode of Letterman. Until next time, about 1 week from now, happy tiles!